You ever look at one of today's big bulldozers and think, they sure don't make 'em like they used to? I've had that thought more than once. So I decided to take a little journey, not to find the biggest bulldozer, or even the most powerful, but to find the oldest. The machines that started it all. The true pioneers of dirt and steel. And let me tell you, what I found was more than just rust in history. I found machines that shaped the country. And the last one on this list? It might just be the godfather of them all. Let's kick things off in the 1980s with a machine that most folks in heavy equipment know well, the Caterpillar D11. Built in 1984, this was Caterpillar's answer to the demand for bigger, stronger, and more capable. It weighed over 229,000 pounds and packed around 850 horsepower. This was a dozer you didn't just drive, you operated it like a ship. Contractors used it for everything from open-pit mining to massive earth-moving jobs. Even now, the D11 holds its own in the modern world. But this wasn't the start, just one of the greats along the way. Before the D11, there was the Komatsu D355A from 1975. Now this was the machine that showed the world Japan could compete in heavy machinery. It was tough, reliable, and smoother to operate than many of its competitors. With a roomy cab and better hydraulics, it gave operators a level of comfort they hadn't experienced before. The D355A wasn't just powerful, it was practical. That mix made it a favorite among crews working long, hard days. Now, travel with me back to 1954. That's when the Caterpillar D9 came into the picture. This machine introduced an elevated sprocket design that changed everything. It improved traction, balance, and reduced wear, especially on rugged terrain. The D9 wasn't just strong, it was smartly engineered. It ended up being used in everything from land clearing to military operations. And for folks who worked construction in the 50s and 60s, this machine was often the backbone of the job site. Further back in time, in 1940, we meet the Allis-Chalmers HD-41. At the time, this thing was a giant. Over 100 tons of raw iron. But it wasn't just about size, it also introduced better hydraulic systems that gave operators more finesse. For the first time, it wasn't just about pushing and dragging, it was about control. That was a big deal in a time when most machines still beat up the person running them. A year earlier, in 1939, the Caterpillar D8 made its debut. Weighing about 34,000 pounds with around 105 horsepower, the D8 was built to last. It was used in civilian work and in World War II efforts. It cleared forests, leveled ground, and helped build vital infrastructure. There are folks alive today who remember seeing this beast on farms and road projects as kids. In 1935, International Harvester introduced the TD-24. It had a design that gave it real traction, longer, wider tracks that let it dig in where other machines would just spin and stall. It became a favorite for forestry, mining, and remote site work. If you needed something tough in the woods, this was your machine. And when something broke, you could fix it in the field with some tools, some grit, and maybe a little prayer. Now we hit 1928. That's when the Allis-Chalmers Model 60 showed up. It didn't look as flashy as some of the later models, but it got the job done. Strong engine. Simple controls. And it ran day after day without complaining. Back then, men were paving roads by hand, and machines like this were a godsend. It gave smaller crews the muscle of a much bigger team. Let's talk 1925 now. This is where the Caterpillar D1 comes in, one of the earliest Caterpillar bulldozers after the Holt and Best companies merged. It was compact, powerful, and dependable. One of the big innovations was the switch from wooden to steel tracks. That alone made it more durable, more reliable, and a whole lot easier to maintain. It became popular on farms and construction sites alike. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. And that's what mattered. Now, we're getting close to the roots. In 1917, the Holt 75 was born. This wasn't a bulldozer, technically not yet. It was a crawler tractor, built for the military during World War I. But once the war ended, people started seeing what it could really do. Farmers, road builders, land clearers, they all put the Holt 75 to work. It ran on kerosene. It had steel tracks. And it was loud, slow, and absolutely unstoppable. Many people consider it the real beginning of the bulldozer as we know it today. It helped shape Caterpillar's early legacy, and some of these machines are still out there, weathered and worn, but standing tall. But even the Holt wasn't truly the first. Before any big company built them. Before the term bulldozer even existed. Somebody, probably a farmer or a mechanic, looked at a Fordson tractor and thought, I bet I could strap a blade to the front of this thing and push dirt. And that's exactly what they did. They bolted a hunk of oak wood to the front, ran some chains and cables, and turned a basic farm tractor into a homemade bulldozer. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't powerful. But it worked. That rough invention, an oak blade on a steel tractor, was the seed that grew into the machines we know today. No hydraulics. No air conditioning. Just determination, elbow grease, and pure ingenuity. So when we talk about the oldest bulldozers, we're not just talking about machines. We're talking about history. About the men and women who ran them. Repaired them. Trusted them. These machines built more than roads, they built towns, cities, and the foundation of modern life. If you're someone who remembers the smell of diesel in the morning, the hum of a cold engine warming up, or the thrill of pushing through a tough patch of earth, then you already know. These old bulldozers weren't just tools, they were legends. Thanks for coming on this journey. If you enjoyed it, give this a thumbs up, and maybe share it with someone who remembers when machines were built to last. I'll be back with more stories from the machines that made America. Until then, keep building, and keep remembering.